It's hard to share everything in just one live, but we try to pack everything for you.
And you can always ask some more questions and we can create live based on that. And like I said, it will be saved, so we can rewatch it and maybe we can also cut it in individual reels. So first of all, how are you today, my dear Cecilia?
I'm good. I'm very happy. I'm at home today. I got to stay because my dog had surgery last week. And so today was my day to watch my dog.
Oh.
So
And how is she? How is she doing?
she's doing great. It was, we didn't want to have puppies. And so,
Yes.
yeah, it was a spade surgery, but everything went really well. And we're trying to keep her calm because it's a golden retriever and she's a puppy and she's full of energy. So trying to keep her down, sometimes it's challenging, but we're getting in there.
Oh, wonderful. It's great to hear. Well, you're looking amazing as always. And I think let's move to our subject. The first question I wanted to ask, how long it took you to get that perfect hair stroke? Let's start with that.
Years, Anastasia. It takes years. And this is something that I always share with everybody, that don't get frustrated and don't get discouraged because it takes years of practice. So really for me to say I'm happy with what I see, I would say 2 or 3 years it took me before I was really satisfied. And I'm really picky, especially because I'm always looking for heel results. So my client leaves and I'm still not singing victory until my client comes back after the touch up and the hair strokes are nice and crisp and dimensional. Then I can say, yes, I nail it. I know what I'm doing. And it takes several years because sometimes you have to work in different skin types. With what you do in one skin type, it's not the same like approach that you're gonna have with another skin type. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this topic is very broad and there's so much information. So yeah, basically years.
And the healed result is speak volumes, obviously. You're absolutely right. I like that you mentioned it, you brought it up because it's all look amazing straight after, but when it's healed, it's a different story. It's not
It's
always the same.
story. Yeah, you can see hair strokes beautiful, and then when they come back, they might be gone. They might be blurry. They might be blending with what you did, especially if you do a little bit of shading. So combining, sometimes it can be tricky.
And then just for the comments, thank you so much for the comment. We both look incredibly beautiful. Thank you, Shamina. So nice of you. And so, but what would you say is the key factors of creating a perfect, crisp looking hair strokes? What do you say is the key factors?
Very good question, Anastasia. I would say I will break it down into 2 big pieces for me. One is important, and the second one is technique. Like everything that has to do with hand movement, speed, angle, like the skin type that you're choosing for this technique, because there's different combinations of it. But those 2, I think, if you really understand the goal that you're having for your hair strokes and you use these 2 things, you're always going to achieve amazing results. So talking about tools, I am pro amiea. I am very happy with the results that I get. And this is why I'm an advocate for this brand, because I get what I've been working so hard all these years. So for me, I think it's very important, number 1, to have a very good machine. And there's different lengths of strokes, speed and power of the machine. There's many things out there. So you really have to test different kinds and see what works for you, because every artist is different. For me, I prefer a very strong machine. I like to be, I think to me it's very important to have a very good base, meaning like the skin has to be tight. The needle has to be very strong to penetrate the skin effectively. So for me, like everything firm, for me, is a must. I don't like soft machines. I don't like wiggly cartridges, because at the end of the day, that's what gave me very crisp and nice hair strokes that stay like that over the years. And that's what you want, because I feel like I tried different things, softer machines, that after a year or two, the hair strokes start getting blurry. So I'm gonna share with you, I do actually have some latex here. I'm not gonna do a full brow or anything, but I wanna show you like the speed that works to give you nice crisp hair strokes, and the angle of the needle. That's very important. So I think, to me, like firm everything, that's how I like it.
Yeah, so basically the speed of a machine, the speed of a hand, the position, when we have to think about the angle of the needle and obviously the type of the needle, which is also can be very confusing.
Exactly. So for example, my go-to machine is the H3 because it's wireless. So I can move around. I really like the idea of not having cables around me. They're distracting, and so these give me that. And also these last for the whole day. So usually I see clients back to back all day, and with the 2 full charges of my 2 batteries, that's all I need. So I'm good to go for the rest of the day. I don't have to recharge or worry about it. So these give me that. This machine is very powerful. It's a 3.0 stroke. That means that it's going to hit the skin hard. So for me, it works because I have a light hand, and it just, again, it just doesn't create as much trauma. So I'm really like efficient with implanting pigment and moving on. Hi, Anna. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Please leave questions and comments. We're super, super excited to have you here. So don't be shy.
Yes.
So this machine is my go-to. I use it for everything. I use it for eyeliner, eyebrows, with nanostrokes, powder brows, shaded eyeliner. And the beautiful thing is that they're universal cartridges, so you can use large needles, which to me is like what I've been doing for the most part of this year. That is almost gone. I can't believe it is almost gone. But large needles. So when you want to use large needles, you want to have a powerful machine like this one. So that's machine. Then my B will be my cartridges. So the cartridges I go to are these are latest. Like we launched these ones in April or
The
May.
universal one, yeah, they just came actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so these have been in the market for a little while. So if you haven't tried them, you totally should check them out, because I don't know if you can see these, but they have, right now there's ink in it, but they do have like this spiral. So when you dip this cartridge into the pigment, it will suck in, and all this spiral is gonna fill in with pigment. So just to give you an idea, you can work for 8 to 10 minutes without dipping your needle again. So that's, again, it's efficient. I have this thing about time for some reason in my life for everything I do. So time for me is precious. So also for permanent makeup, you don't want to invest a lot of time trying to implant pigment and traumatizing the skin, maybe going too fast. So you have to really take your time to let the needle penetrate the skin. So go slow. That will be my tip. Most important tip is like go slow, inject, be efficient, and just like keep the angle of the machine always at 90 degrees. I know there's some times that you can go 60 degrees in some cases, but for the most part, I like to keep it 90 degrees, especially if I'm working with large needles. So then these cartridges, they're called capillary cartridges. You can look it up at the website. They're amazing. They deposit. They're very efficient. You're not gonna feel like I feel sometimes with other cartridges that you're puncturing the skin, but there's nothing in the skin.
No pigments in, yeah.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. And then because the window to deposit pigment is so short with permanent makeup, so you really have to puncture and deliver, so you can't be messing around. So these cartridges do that. Also, there's so many different configurations. Like Right now I have the 0.25 and I want to show you why and when I use this cartridge. Then they have 0.25, 0.30, 0.35, and they have different tapers. Long tapers, short tapers, medium tapers. It really depends on what you do, but I use long tapers for the most part, and I try not to use very, very thin little very little cartridges or needles for dry skin or thin skin, mature clients. I try to stay, like if I'm gonna do a very, very delicate skin, I'm not gonna use a very little, like 0.25. I'll go a little thicker in diameter so I don't traumatize the skin so much. Hi, Alina. Thank you for joining. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Thank you so much. And any questions, please let us in. Oh, hello, Alina. Next time it's going to be you.
Yes, Alina is one of our team members, and she's super amazing, and I really like her work, so I'm very happy that she's joining us today. So with this machine, what I do is like, right now I have this 0.25 diameter. It's a long taper. And what I usually do it is to create like those little ends of the hair stroke, because I don't use the same diameter for the same hair stroke or the whole hair stroke. So I do have some examples here. So for example, you see how, and let me know if you can see it quick because I see it nicely, but let me know. So you can see like the dimensional work is a little thicker. And then at the end, like those puffs, they are very, very fine. I use a 0.25, but then I move on with a 0.30 or 0.35. Sometimes I use a 4 flat to create that thickness and that volume that we're looking for on hyperrealistic nanostrokes. So I want to show you what these cartridges do, and I'm actually just gonna show you here, Anastasia. Let me know if you can see
Yes, I
this.
can see. Yeah, I can see very well.
This fine line, I did it with the 0.25. So this is the smallest, or yeah, it's the smallest diameter that we have. So, but I don't know, I'm gonna try to show you what I typically do. So I'm gonna see if I can incline this just a little bit before dropping it.
And we are referring to capillary cartridges, which have a special reservoir inside, which holds up to 10 times more pigment than the regular cartridge. So it means you can work 10 times longer and cause less trauma to the skin because you don't need to go in and out all the time to pick the pigment.
Exactly. So you guys can see this?
Yeah, I mean, I can, as everyone else can see it. Let's see. I'm just gonna disable the comments. Yes, perfect.
Okay. So remember, I'm using 0.25. And these, the goal of this is just creating, and I'm just gonna show you real quick here. It's just like for the ends. So I go faster on these sections because let's say if I want to like extend these hair strokes, because you know, these hair strokes are going to shrink after healing. So you kind of have to overextend them. So you create like that puffy look that you're looking for. So you can go faster on the tip, and that's what I use to make this effect. Okay.
And just to interrupt you, Alina is asking, that brow looks great. You do the puffs at the end of the procedure or as the last finishes?
Do you do the puff at the end of the procedure? No, I actually start with the 0.25. That's a great question. So I go first, I do, say I have my pre-draw, right? This is, imagine this is just pencil. Actually, I'm going to show you this one because this one is not finished yet. So I start, say this is pencil in. So I will take my 0.25 and I'll go like all the way on the hair stroke on each one. And then I leave the puffy like ends of the hair. Then when I have my shape settled in the skin and then I clean up, then I'm gonna move up with the other cartridges. So then I change, say if I wanna make these thicker, then I'll go and make like from here to here, and I will leave the ends along with the 0.25. But like this area where I wanted to make it thicker, I use a 0.35, or sometimes I use a 3RL. And again, they can be done with the capillaries too. So yeah, so you can use a 4 flat. I mean, there's so many different things that you can use, but you have to like choose what skin type are you dealing with. So, and then yes, and then the other thing I want to add is when I do these, at the end of the treatment, then I extend them with the 0.25 again, just because I know they're going to retract when they're healed. So when they retract, I want still to get that fine end of the stroke very visible.
Yeah.
Too
Thank you.
close.
Alina, thank you for the question. So yeah, we're going to try to make it more visible, not too close. So basically, if you can move down. Thank you, Brian, by the way. So
Yes.
let's try again.
So I'm just gonna maybe, I don't know. I have the comments here, so it's kind of hard for me to pick and choose.
Actually, you can scroll all the comments down, and then they're kind of gonna disappear, so you can see it better.
What about there? Can you see these?
Move it a little bit down, a little
like
bit
this
down
way?
towards you. Yes, yes, and to the right. Okay. Yeah, I think for me it's perfect.
Like,
I don't know. Is it good for you to work like this?
yes.
Okay.
So I'm actually kind of like multitasking because I'm holding the phone this way. So I'm practically working with what hand, which I don't recommend anybody to do. Use your 2 hands because you want to have your stretching hand on your latex. So you're like pressing down, controlling everything. But yes, this is what I do. So let's say I did the whole brow is done, and then I'm just going to make sure my window is up. So this window here, so I can get a good airflow, and then I'm just gonna pull. I'm gonna do both, two, so you can see. Say I wanted to extend it like that, and you see it?
Wow. It looks so natural as well. It's beautiful.
So yeah.
And so this is just the one pass.
This is, I'm sorry, say that again.
This is just the one pass.
Yes, just one pass. So I mean, this brow it's multiple passes, and what I mean by passes is like, so you try to do one pass. For example, you're gonna create this hair stroke. You do one pass on that hair stroke. Your second pass is gonna be a fill-in, so you're not gonna go over the same whole hair stroke. You're only gonna go into just a chunk of it. Then with that chunk of it, you can choose a different cartridge. It could be a thicker cartridge in diameter. It could be a single needle. It could be 3 needles. It could be 4, 5 flats. I don't like working with magnums. I don't think they're suitable for this type of job, but definitely flats, like the 5 flat, the 4 flat, those are really good to create hair strokes too, especially when you want to make density.
So what do I understand you correctly and everyone else? When you say you don't go over fully, so it's mean you create one hair stroke and then you go second time over it, you only go over the area you want to emphasize, not from beginning to the end.
Exactly. So I usually leave the tips of the hair strokes of the ends. I don't touch those. I make sure in my first pass I get the pigment in the skin. And how do you do that? By going like very, very precise with the needle. So you have to make sure you got the right depth of the needle, and then make sure you're implanting in the right layer. So, and how do you know that? Because you have to see it after you do it the first time, you have to see pigment inside there, and not too deep where it's not blurry, but deep enough where it's visible but still crisp and clear. So if you're not doing that, maybe you're going too shallow, and so you have to go back again and just go a little deeper. Don't go all the way down, you know, just a little deeper, and then check. So you can do little chunks. So once you have your pressure figured out, then you do the whole hair stroke. Leave the ends alone, and then keep working inwards into the hair stroke. That makes sense.
And how many times do you usually, when you went second time to emphasize the area, let's say in the middle, is it that's it, or if needed, you can go over one more time
Yeah,
to
you can.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can go over of that section because, I mean, you did the first pass, then the second pass is going to be that chunk. But you can do different things. You can do like a single movement, depending on the skin type again. But say you have a thicker skin type and maybe it's oily, then you want to go back and forth and implant more pigment because you know thick skin needs thicker pigment. It's very simple. It's just like, to me, it's just like, you know, your skin is thin, you know, you can't put too much, right? Thin
Yeah.
skin, less pigment. Thicker skin, more pigment, because then you're gonna lose some. So you have to kind of play with the equation of the healing process and how much pigment are you gonna lose when these hair strokes are healed. So you really have to see clear, like hair strokes like these.
It's absolutely beautiful. We're also going to take picture for you of that, and we'll post it in stories as well, so you can see this amazing work. So just to repeat one more time, in the beginning, Cecilia liked to use capillary 0.25 long taper cartridge for the first pass. And for the second pass, when you emphasize the middle of a stroke, you usually go for the 0.30, you said.
Yeah, 0.30 or 0.35, depending on the skin type. But yes, I go up in diameter.
And always long taper, because we have short and medium, so you always aim for the long tapers.
Yes, I do prefer that. I think you get used to it. You know, like some people have different opinions about that. But again, it's whatever works for you, because these are just tools, but you are moving the tools. You are the one that's making this happen. So for me, I work pretty much on every skin type with long tapers, and I get good results.
Wow. So, but just to like summarize, why long taper is the best choice for you, in your opinion? Why it works for you?
Because a long taper, you know, it has a finer tip, and that allows me to decide how deep I need to go into the skin. I have better visibility because when I'm working, I'm always looking at the tip of my cartridge. I want to know how deep is my needle going into the skin. So I think that's one thing. And it's like, if you already have the option to see the cartridge and the not the cartridge, the tip of the needle, because it's longer, then you have the opportunity to take decisions and how deep you need to go with the skin. Also allows you to create finer work. And that's what you want, especially like on those ends of the hair strokes. You want it to be very, very fine because you want to mimic real hair. So of course, this is not for every single skin type, because for example, if I have a thicker skin, I'm probably not gonna use 0.25. I'm probably gonna use 0.30 maybe for the ends, and then I go thicker, maybe I use a 0.35 single needle, or I'll move on with a 3-round cartridge. So I feel like it really depends on what you're working for, but I always start with a small cartridges to the end, and then I go thicker as we go into the dimension of the hair.
Yeah. So at least there is a, because it's not always a great explanation about the tapers, but just I know we're talking about the perfect hair strokes, but if you would do the shading, would you also aim for the long taper?
No.
No.
No, because it's gonna, so think about how fine is the tip of a long taper, right? So if you're like scratching, you're gonna cause a lot of damage in the skin. But if you have a shorter taper, it's gonna be a little more gentle with the skin. So if you're dragging the needle, then it's going to be a lot better than using something that is so pointy and so sharp. Now, there's some areas that you can do long tapers with, say, 0.25 when you want to create like a very dusty effect on a powder brow. In some areas, yes, you can do it, and sometimes you can do it with pointillism. You don't have to drag and scratch the skin, and that will give you like very clear and maybe separated effects there. So others, like I said, there's so much on this topic that I'm gonna try to make it simple. But yeah, so that's why I like, for nanostrokes, I like long tapers. That's my preference, unless I have a very, very, say, an 85-year-old woman with, as you get older, your skin gets thinner. So then I will take a medium taper. But I usually stick with very fine needles, and I just work differently. I just work slower, and I just try to work very efficiently so I don't go over again and traumatize the skin.
And also the important question is the choice of pigments. How do you decide between using hybrid or organic pigment? And do you use which one do you use for the hair stroke usually?
So I would, like, in general, I prefer hybrid pigments. I'm not crazy about mineral pigments because they don't stay in the skin as long as you want. And I know it could be a great, business for you to have your client come in often, but mineral pigments, they do deliver very beautiful work, crisp hair strokes. But the problem is they don't last too long. And I feel like that's a very sensitive subject when you're running a business, because you want your client to get a good amount of pigment in their skin for a while, right? Because they're gonna go like, oh no, she made me come back, every 8 months or 6 months or a year, and it's not gonna be a long-term business for you, because your clients are gonna go like, no, I don't want to invest in this. That's why I'm doing permanent makeup, right? Because I wanted to stay permanent for a long time. And when we know it's not forever, we try to get as long as possible. So I like the hybrid pigments. I really like the Evolution too, because it will give me crisp hair strokes. They last for a long time. So a long time, I mean, my client will maybe come back on average in a year and a half for a boost of color. The color is not gone, or the hair strokes are still nice and crisp, but they just need to be boosted. And this is like on average, but I do have clients coming in for 3 years when they're older clients, because the pigment will stay longer in more mature skin than young skin. So hybrid to me is my go-to. I would use organic pigments only in certain occasions for nanostrokes. I will use them on thick skin, oily skin, and when I want to create dimension in like what I call the spine, which will be like the darker areas here.
Mm-hmm. So for the darker areas, you sometimes aim for the organic line, and generally it's a hybrid.
Yes, it's a hybrid, and the Evolution too. I love this line. I do work with it every single day for most of my work with nanostrokes, because I also love that these pigments, they won't change color over time. This happened to me before, and it's been a headache, and so they won't change color over time. Then also, they are warm. The warmth in the colors is perfect. I really tell you, 90% of the time, I don't have to like add any warmth. Like, it's just perfect. And when they heal through color. So I think that's, again, I mean, you want to make your life easier as a technician, because you don't want to bump into these problems when your work is healed. So I prefer that. And then again, if I need to do something thicker that maybe it'll expand, because organic pigments, they tend to expand with nanostrokes over time, then I will use it only for a thick skin where I want thicker effects. But for the most part, it's Evolution 2, and it's perfect every time.
And by the way, the Evolution 2 in the deep line, we don't have the titanium dioxide, and it's both of them are REACH, the all lines of amiea are REACH approved, so you really can be safe.
Yeah.
And thank you as well for all your activities, Fast, my darling. Thank you for joining as well. Love you so much. Thank you from UK. And we have some other comments as well. Virat, thank you so much. Thank you for all your activity. And please don't forget about the questions. Any questions, please ask. I mean, I love how Cecilia breaks everything into details. And it's so interesting that you don't need to just stuck in a one way or another. You always give options, which is wonderful.
Yes, thank you. I try my best to simplify this, because it's a very complex topic. But anyway, when I use deep pigments is when I do shading, because sometimes you're gonna bump in situations where you have nanostrokes, and I always recommend starting with nanostrokes first. That's a common question I often get by students. Should I do hairstrokes first or shading first? I always start with hairstrokes. Why? Because you're gonna get the integrity of the skin for the most part. You're not gonna cause a lot of damage. And then you can shade the areas that you're not putting hairstrokes, because shading is always gonna be more traumatic for the skin. So you really want to do that at the very last, so you don't really cause a lot of trouble in the skin, and then the retention is good. So hairstrokes first, and then shading. And when I use shading, I always shade with deep pigments. So in one brow, I can have the Evolution for nanostrokes, and then the deep line for the shading.
Yeah, wow. So this is a really great, this is the best recipe. And just a question for the, because we're always speaking about different type of skin. For the older skin, let's say, would you also go to this, to using the organic line, or you stick just to hybrid if it's an older, more thinner skin?
Yes, so same rules, like I would do hairstrokes with Evolution too, and then if I need to do shading, for sure dips. I don't use shading with the Evolution 2. I think it's I really like the effects of the deep colors, and regardless of it's a older mature skin, thin skin, thick skin, I think they just stay really well, and you don't really have to push too much on the skin, because like I said, it's already a very invasive technique, because you're scratching the skin. So I like a pigment that I'm gonna do a pass and then it's gonna show up and then move on, you know, try to, less damage possible.
And then we're talking about the hand speed, because you said that you really need to make sure the beginning and the end, obviously the whole hair stroke, you get it right. So I assume your hand is moving quite slowly. Is any chance you can just demonstrate on the camera just how you do the beginning to the end, and then when you apply the middle part, just to kind of see the speed and the angle of your hand one more time?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna show you the speed that I have for the end first. Actually, I'm gonna keep, because I switch cartridges, so this is at 35 and this is at 25. So I'm gonna keep the 25 and then I'll show you the ends just for speed purposes. So I'm gonna go with, okay, we had it here, and now I'm gonna tilt the phone.
Just hide the comments so we can see it properly. All right.
Can you see it there?
Yes, we can see it very well.
Okay, so I'm gonna extend this one, and look how it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like that pace.
Are you going back and forth or just towards yourself?
I'm just going towards myself. I never go back and forth in the ends because they get thick. So I always go in one direction, is towards me. And it's quickly, especially at the end, like this. Okay? This is speed for the end. Now I'm going to show you the speed for the middle. So it's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's quick. It's quick. Now this one, I know it sounds like a choreography, but I'm trying to be very explicit. Okay, let me add some more pigment. And then this is gonna be the middle, okay? So in the middle, because I wanted to implant a lot more, I can go back and forth and look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you can just go like 1, 2, 1, 2, and then you can kind of finish faster. And look at this.
Wow, this is so gorgeous.
And this is just one pass. I'm going to show you the next one. I'm going to keep doing the 1, 2, super slow, fill in. And this is back and forth. Remember, this is back and forth. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
So as you can see, it's important to pay attention how slow Cecilia works. That's why you don't need to go over beginning and end one more time, because you really need to take your time to do it.
Exactly. So you see the difference? See how filling in and how noticeable it is?
Yeah.
So and also, if you notice, I didn't touch the ends. It's just in the middle where I'm working to create these effect. And I also start, my first movement is like one first movement, and then I let that tip like alone, for example, here. So you notice this? It's very thin. So this is just a one pass, kind of like this, and then in the halfway, I start doing increasing like the movements back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Can you just move latex a little bit more from yourself towards us, towards the camera, I suppose. No, closer. Sorry, it's mean towards me, which means away from you. Sorry.
Okay.
More.
Here?
Because for some reason I only see the table. Okay, more, honey, more, closer, closer, closer. Oh, yeah, yes, yes. It's either the latex or the camera, and now a little bit down, just a little. Okay, just a little. Yeah, I think
Like this?
yes, it should be good. Yes, now it should be good. Let's see. Yes, perfect. You see how
So,
much color in this cartridge? This is why it's capillary. We can see.
but see how this is very soft? It's because my first pass is like one line, and then halfway, so here, then I'll go back. And then for the now on, I'm just going back.
But this is only for the area which you want to empathize. So it's like the body of the stroke.
And then the end is just a very soft. See? I have here is the back and forth, and the tips are super soft.
Yeah.
So, everybody tell me, did you get what I'm saying? I want to make sure that you understand what I'm trying to explain here. So I hope this is helpful for you.
So I think what we can do, we can just summarize that your secret of perfect hair stroke, from what I understood, first of all, is a fine needle, long taper, 0.25. You do like your capillary. The first pass is always have to be precise. You go slow, and the speed of a machine. What would you say for the first pass?
I usually go with 100.
With 100. Okay, so
that's usually where my speed is. I usually don't go lower than that unless I want to create like something super, super pixelated. And pixelated nanostrokes are only for certain skin types. So, meaning very young, firm skin that is gonna display well. Because if you do it in a mature skin, you might see like those dots not healing nicely. And also, I think that's a more modern technique, so it's more for younger people. And again, in a very, very healthy, firm skin, it's doable. But and then you can go lower, right? Because the faster the needle goes, the more pigment is going to implant. The slower the needle goes, the more pixel is going to leave. So 100 for hair strokes for me works.
And the first pass, you work like you showed, only towards yourself. So you're doing it slowly, only towards yourself, and only for the body of the brow. When you go second time, you go back and forth.
Yes. And sometimes you don't have to. You can go towards you too, but slower. But I found it really helpful to go back and forth, back and forth. But it takes practice. So if you're a beginner and you're listening to these live, make sure you practice on latex first, so your needle goes back into the same line. So it just takes a little bit of practice, but it's obviously doable. But yeah, the back and forth, I find it really, really helpful because it just gives you more deposit into the skin, and then you can move on and keep going.
And would you keep exactly the same technique for the oily skin? Do you think it's possible to
Yes,
achieve such a beautiful strokes?
yes, definitely, but I will use larger needles. Like I would use a 5-4 flat for the middle, all the dimensional thickness of the hair, and then maybe I will use, if I don't stay with that flat, I will use a 0.35 just for the ends of the hair strokes, like puffy ends.
Yeah. And just to, oh my God, the time flies with you. It's been 50 minutes almost. It's been just like 1 minute. And thank you so much for everything, for your support. But just to finalize it, what do you think, in your opinion, happening? Why we have a lot of beginners also struggling with that? When the work done, the hair stroke is perfect and crisp. When it healed, all smudged and gone. What would you say the most common mistakes for the issues with the hair strokes?
The angle of the machine. I see that on my students when they're beginners. They tend to forget about what's going on here, and this is very, very important. So if you, and I'm going to try to like explain it in a different way, but if you say this is the skin, and if the cartridge is going like this, it's going to give a very good precision of what the needle is doing inside the skin. So when you go like this, then you change the angle, and what you're going to do is you're going to cause a little bit more damage. So if you're not experienced enough and you're not realizing that, okay, actually I'm going to go this way. So this is 90 degrees, right? And this is 60 degrees. So
Yeah.
maybe 45 degrees. You're not noticing because in the beginning you don't pay attention to those things sometimes. So you go like this, the cartridge is going this way, it's puncturing this way. So it's causing more damage. Think about it like, I'm gonna see if I can show it to you here. But if I try to puncture these, if I go like this,
Yeah.
okay, this is strong enough. It's gonna cause like a round, like the size of the diameter, a hole, perfect hole, round hole. But when it's like this, it's not gonna leave that in the skin. So what happens is you're ripping the skin off. You're like causing damage. And then these hair strokes, most likely, they're gonna be blurred when they're healed, or they're gonna be thick and chunky. And you don't want that. So that's my recommendation. Is always be mindful of mind connection with your hand, and this only develops with practice. Practice a lot on latex before you working on somebody else or a human being. You can use a mannequin, that helps too, because I think it's just so helpful for your hand to get used to these angles, because you're practicing on latex, you're on a flat surface, and it's a lot easier to develop this. So it's good. You're developing muscle memory. That's awesome. But then if you grab a mannequin that has dimensional in a concave shape, then you have to place your hand in different ways. So this is gonna help you to level 2, practice your angle, because if you're like this, then you have to tilt your machine this way. Try to keep it like that, even if your hand is like in a different angle.
This is a great tip. It's, it's actually true. When you're on latex, you're all comfortable and it's easy to go a little bit angled, and then you get used to it, and here we go. And about the stretching, what would you say? It's stretching or overstretching? What would be the...
A must is like extremely important. The stretch is everything. So if your stretch is not firm and it's not, firm. I cannot explain it better than that. Firm, then the skin is gonna be like wrinkly or saggy, and the needle is not gonna penetrate well. So you really have to have this tight surface to penetrate with the needle very good and put the pigment inside where you want it to be.
And another myth, sorry for keep asking, but I really wanted to.
Please.
This thing about the topical anesthetic, do you use it or not? And if not, why do you think it's make a difference? Because some claim that it's really make a big difference if you don't use it.
For me, I don't care about that. Like, I use anesthetics on lips, eyeliner, eyebrows. To me, anesthetic is the go-to because, first of all, it doesn't bother me the change on texture of the skin, because yes, it does change. But I kind of like it because it makes it harder. Like, the skin gets firmer and it's better to penetrate. When you have the skin of the lips or the eyebrows softer, you have to overstretch more, and it's already like demanding to keep the stretch, because normally when you're working, your hand gets tired of stretching, and then sometimes you release the stretch and you're not even realizing that you are. So sometimes you have to, hey, go back and stretch, hey, hold it. So I don't know, I like anesthetics. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect my healing at all. I put tons of anesthetic. I pre-numb. I reapply tons of anesthetic because I want my client to be super comfortable. Again, this is a long time term business. So you want your client to say, I fell asleep, it didn't feel like anything, and that was super comfortable. If you have a client saying, oh, it hurt so bad or whatever, that's not good. And obviously you're doing two things wrong. One, you're pressing a lot hard with your tool, whether it's the microblading or your machine. And two, you're not using the right anesthetic. So for me, my client needs to be comfortable at all times, and that's going to bring me more clients. And also your deep or your depth in your pigment implementation has got to be nailed it, because then you'll get those results regardless if you have anesthetic or just a little bit of anesthetic or a lot of anesthetic. So anesthetic to me is just like, I don't care. I use it all the time and I go for it, and it doesn't impact anything.
Yeah, you're so right. I think in the end of the day, not all clients are like me, for instance. I can tolerate pain for sake of something. I think it's this toughness, but I know so many who, like, even if we feel a little bit of pain, we will never go back or never do this treatment and tell everyone else not to do it. So I think in the end of the day, it's probably all the myths which been created just for the next new thing. Don't use anesthetic when you're gonna have a better result. I think, like you say yourself, it's down to technique. And just to finish it up, I know your go-to is Ever 2, which is a hybrid line. And what would be your top 3 colors from the line? Because I know some of you contacted me asking what is my recommendation, because yes, there is a choice of colors, the 10 colors, and not everyone can buy them all. If it would be, let's say, the top 3, which one would you recommend to go for?
Top 3. Woo, that's a hard one because there are so many good colors. But
okay. Top 5. Well, let's say 5. Okay, if it's more than that.
So for blondes, Definitely warm blonde. Why? Because blondes, they have a lot of reddish colors. They tend to be ashy when they heal. So warm blonde heals beautiful, and it's just like true color. No ashy colors, nothing weird like that. And also remember, because it doesn't have the combination of carbon with the white, doesn't make gray, so it won't change color over time. It's beautiful. I would say for blondes, warm blonde. And then you have to have a medium brown. So I will pick uh, warm. Like I always go with warm. Um, okay, so the most I have is medium brown for sure. I use it a lot. I use it a lot for different skin types. I mean, from blondes to brunette sometimes when I want to make these hair strokes very, very nice and puffy. So, okay. So yeah, first one is bold, blonde warm or warm blonde, medium brown, and then warm medium, no, warm brown is called. And then those are for the medium colors, those two. So I will have those two for sure. Because sometimes you have a brunette that it has ashy colors on, I don't know, existing hair, and you want to match that. Sometimes if you go too warm, it's gonna jump out. So you always try to like match the existing color. If you do have existing color, always try to match as possible. So medium browns, those are my go-to. And then for dark brown or for darker skin colors, I will use, I love deep brown. I mean, if you give me three and I did
No, it
four.
can
So
be more. This was just, yeah, you're right. It's from 10, 3, it's, yeah. Yeah, let's make it 5 or whatever you think is right.
I would
Whatever
say
you think is a must have.
extra dark, that would be my fifth color for sure.
And I
And they're
know that
all
you also
warm.
use extra dark sometimes for the eyes, isn't it? For the eyeliner.
I do. I use when I want to create like a very like pixelated eyeliner, I use those dark colors, and they work really, really good.
And just to finalize from the deep line, we only have 6 colors. Which would you say would be your goal for?
The deep
We
line.
talking about the organic line. Deep is a new organic line, which our newest one. It's also without azo2 titanium dioxide. It's a very safe line, REACH approved. So we're talking about the deep line at the moment.
Okay. So how many do you want for the deep?
Just what do you think is a must for you? What would you think that it's a must have?
Oh, they must have. So I would say, what's it called?
The one you use the most.
It's like blackish. What's it called? I forgot the name. It just slipped out of my mind.
Intense dark. Ashy.
No,
Okay, let me help you here.
no. The extra dark is from the Evo 2, and the warm dark 2. But the blackish, it's like the darkest color from the deep line. Let me see it real quick here.
Yes,
Here
I'm
it is.
gonna so we have medium brown, warm medium, dark brown, warm dark, extra dark, and intense dark.
Oh no, then it's intense dark. I think I'm mixing up with the blackish blue. No, what's it called? There's one that I use for eyeliner, but it's from the amiea line.
It's probably
okay.
from the organic line. Maybe it's probably from the organic line, not from deep. From the new line for eyebrows. Yeah. Black Beauty, there is one, but it's organic line.
Yeah, so I would definitely use the dark warm. I will use the, tell me again what's the name of the darkest?
So we have medium brown,
dark.
warm medium, dark brown, extra dark, warm dark, and intense dark.
Intense dark, that's the one. That's the darkest. Intense dark, warm dark. And I would use, okay, so if I have to pick 3, medium dark. Is that the one of the lightest, right?
So the light is medium brown, I would say, or it could
Medium
be
brown.
warm dark, warm dark.
Yes. No, I would say medium
Yeah,
brown.
yeah,
Medium
yeah.
brown, intense.
Warm,
Yeah.
medium, dark brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll be those three just because I'm like looking at this scale like if you want to do powder brows for a very light skin type, that's going to be your lightest color. And then the intense is going to be for the most dark skin colors. Like those, the intense dark, because it's the darkest, it has a very, very good coverage. So you really can implant pigment into the powder brow quickly, especially if you use large needles. And the way that I think about it is like when you have a dark skin, you usually are dealing with thick skin and most likely oily skin. So you have all those two things. So definitely deep line because I know it's going to be like holding up the color. And also you can implant a lot. These pigments are loaded with like pigment, like the particles are very, very little. So you can implant really fast. But to be completely honest with you, because you are dealing with thick skin and oily skin, I use large needles for like powder for the most part. I usually don't go and use deep colors with single needle. It's like over 3 or I use magnums.
Oh,
And
it's
then
a good point. So for organic line, it's preferably large needles.
yes, and then the other thing is you could use a magnum for powder brows, and if you want to get pixels too, just go low with the speed, or use pointillism too, like with smaller needles. But like for the most part, because this skin is not gonna hold as much, you know, this because it's you already have a very active skin, so it's gonna be oily and it's gonna be maybe large pores and so thick. So you really want to have a big amount of pigments holding up to get the brow healed with visible color, especially on dark skin. But I really like the intense dark just because it's so intense, so noticeable, and you'll have contrast with a dark skin and a dark brown and
Would
a
you
dark
also
brown.
use intense dark for the eyeliner, let's say, for the lash line?
Absolutely. Yes. The intense dark is almost like black, but it's still warm. So it's
Mhm.
not all the way to deep black. That's what I was thinking. It's not like that for eyeliner, but you still can use it in place when you want to get a very soft eyeliner and you don't want anything too dramatic, maybe because the skin is not as dark as, you know, you will do it with a deep black. For example, you will use that for eyeliner and a Fitzpatrick's 4 to 6, so very dark skin. So say you have a blondie like you can use that color with a pixelated eyeliner, and then it'll show, but it's not gonna be black.
Oh, hopefully one day we'll get to you and we'll have these beautiful brows from you with
Can
our
you imagine?
cartridges and our pigments, so I can actually be a direct advertising of.
That'll be
So
awesome.
I will wait, this day will come.
You
I'm
haven't get any
sure.
permanent makeup done. I can't believe it. All this year you've been in the
No,
industry.
I haven't. Actually, I've done it a few times a long time ago, but then I never have time to do it again. So I just kind of, I'm gonna leave it for someone special. So because my skin is oily, as you know, so the color leave my skin very quickly. And in past, as you remember, it was kind of the trend and things was done a little bit too strong. So as soon as it done to me, my skin just fighting and fighting. So I remember I used to be worked on for over 2 hours, 3 hours on my skin. So usually I have massive scalp, everything come off with a scalp, when everything come out with the allergy, and then I'm done. So nothing is stayed. So I think nowadays what you're saying, going not too long, superficial, I think that's what probably now work for the oily skin than going too crazy. And I actually done my lips once without anesthesia, nothing at all. It was also done for 2.5 hours. Of course, I didn't make much scene, but I would say never again because It's not nice to do my big lips for almost 3 hours with the anesthesia. It's not fun
You are
at all.
brave, girl. Yeah, because lips can get annoying, like
Oh
without
yeah,
the
so
anesthesia.
oh yeah, and then I have to translate saying, yeah, you have to do it because it's gonna make your lips last longer and color. And then in my head, I was thinking, if I'm a client, never, never again.
I'm
It was at a trade show, so I couldn't really make some
Oh,
noise. But
no, next
it
time I
was a
see you.
completely different artist, not from me. It was about 10 years ago. It was one of these new trends which is coming. And just by the way, guys, there is a new product coming. It's already on sale. It's new universal microneedle cartridges. And Cecilia we're actually going to do another live soon about them. And this is wonderful. You can use it for any machine, for H2, for H3, for your oven brand if you prefer so. And it's a 3 different cartridges. It's a highly medical grade, very really the German quality, obviously, as you can expect. And we're gonna do the more details about it in our next live. So I really cannot wait for you to get them, to try them. Because one thing, Cecilia would never do a live about something she doesn't like. We
No,
have to hunt you down for 2 years. She was trying our products, well, a year and a half, I would say,
yeah,
before you
almost 2 years.
actually really like them, and then you become our ambassador. So yeah, we are not paying her. She
Yeah,
really loves our products. So it was just become natural. I said, listen, you have all our products. It seems like you really love it. Why don't you be an ambassador? I said, okay, yeah, sounds good.
exactly.
So that's why
Yeah,
she has so much knowledge,
this
because
is
she really
definitely
tried everything.
this is legit. This is legit stuff. But
Yes.
I am very excited about the microneedling cartridges because I feel like that's a great opportunity for permanent makeup artists to get new businesses because it for permanent makeup you get your client coming back every 2 years, right? So I mean now you have another product that can actually help the client come back sooner. So, and I feel like it's a great opportunity. Microneedling works so good with the skin and it's medical grade, so you can actually offer medical procedures because this is not going to be like the rollers that people use at their house. This is like the real deal. And also it's going to make a difference in the skin. So I'm super excited about these. I was shocked when I saw it, like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, especially nowadays because I mean, here in the United States, things are slowing down a little bit with the economy. So the books can be a little more slow, but if you can grab another business opportunity and implement this. Now, another thing that is happening here in the United States is that the permanent makeup is regulated by the health department, and microneedling falls under that umbrella. So you don't really have to do anything else. You do permanent makeup here with your license, you can actually offer microneedling services too.
And with a great product as well, you can achieve amazing result and have your revenue double. So, but about that, it's going to be the next one, which I cannot wait. I
Yes,
really hope you're gonna
I'm gonna be
try.
doing my.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yes, we will have another live for that. So thank you so much, my dear Cecilia, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for your attention and for your presence. It will be saved and posted. Also, it will be on the YouTube, so you can review. And also, I will cut some few reels because we answer so many questions more than I thought. So I will be reusing it later to help you to get this perfect hair strokes. But in any questions, please DM us or comment under this live, and we will answer more questions for you or to create live for the different topic which you are interested in. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much, my
Thank you
lovers.
so much for
Have a
having me.
wonderful
Thank you
day.
everybody for joining. And if you need anything, just can reach out here in on Instagram. It's me behind the account, so I can always help you with answering questions. You can leave a question here in the comments. But thank you so much for having me, Anastasia. It's always a pleasure working with you and having this opportunity to share what my experience has been with these amazing brands. And I'm so looking forward to see the new products coming in. So keep your eyes open, and if you ever need an extra discount, if you want to try whether pigments, machines, cartridges, whatever it is, you can use my code is the Cecilia 10. So you can get a 10 extra at the checkout. So, but yeah, we're here for you. If you need anything, I'll be very happy to help you.
Thank you, my darling. Thank you so much,
Take care. Have a
everyone.
wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Everyone, have a great rest of your day. And thank you one more time. Bye.
Thank you, Rula. Bye-bye, guys. Bye, Anastasia.
Bye, lovely.